नमस्ते आप
बनते
सभी को।
बनते जी प्रणाम।
मॉर्निंग मॉर्निंग, नमस्कार सबको, नमस्कार।
प्रणाम।
तो हम जो पिछली बार अकाउंट ऑफ जनरल सिंह सेनापति मथु पढ़ रहे थे, उसको आगे पढ़ेंगे।
निखिल, कैन आई रिक्वेस्ट, उससे पहले वो जो जनरल सी से पहले वाला जो था ना, वो सैंडल्स वाला, उसको एक बार आप डिस्प्ले कर दोगे? मैं एक्चुअली चर्चा सुन रहा था, एंड आई थॉट समहाउ मे बी जो उसका पॉइंट था ना इंक्लूड करने का, वो शायद अ, बहुत स्पष्ट शायद नहीं हो पाया। सो मे बी आई कैन जस्ट, एंड आई थिंक देयर इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट देयर दैट मे बी आई कैन शेयर। वो सोन वाले से नेक्स्ट है, मैं उसका आपको, अच्छा मेरे पास तो पीडीएफ है लेकिन मेरे पास आपका वो नहीं है।
बंदे जी उसका खंदक बता दीजिए, कौन सा खंदक है। मैं उसको फिर डिस्प्ले
वो
कर दूंगा।
है चमक,
चंबल खंदक में नंबर बता दीजिए।
नंबर 5।
ठीक है, मैं कर
है ना, उसको ज़रा एक बार, और चाहें तो सिर्फ उसका इंग्लिश एक बार देख लें, एंड देन आई थिंक इट आउटलाइन समथिंग विच इज़ यूजुअली मोर और लेस कम्प्लीटली मिस्ड।
श्योर।
आप चाहो तो पीडीएफ भी यूज़ कर सकते हो, वो बिल्कुल स्पष्ट
आई
है
आई
वो।
आई एम जस्ट ऑन द वे
हाँ
फॉर
ठीक
दैट।
है, हाँ नंबर 5 है।
अच्छा, 10 मिनट।
प्रोहिबिशन अगेंस्ट सैंडल्स इन अ मोनेस्ट्री, ये उसका अंग्रेजी था।
दिस वन। इसमें पंडित जी इंग्लिश पढ़ूँ?
मेरे ख्याल से उतना बहुत है, ताकि क्योंकि हम आप लोग रिसाइट तो कर ही चुके हो उसको।
जी।
उसका जो मूल, आई मीन यू कैन ऑल्सो डू द पाली, बट you've डन इट ऑलरेडी, सो।
ये इसमें आई थिंक चर्चा इस बात पर थी कि टीचर उपस्थित है तो सैंडल पहनना है।
हाँ, सो एक एक बार आप उसको बेशक पढ़ दो एक बार आप, देन आई।
सक्षम आप इंग्लिश पढ़ेंगे? बनती जी इंग्लिश में पढ़ना है।
हाँ, आई थिंक इट्स गुड इनफ, इंग्लिश इज गुड इनफ।
On one occasion, the Buddha was doing walking meditation outside without sandals. The senior monks followed his example, but not the monks from the group of six. The monks of few desires complained and criticized them. How can the monks from the group of six do walking meditation with their sandals on when the teacher and the senior monks do it without? They told the Buddha. Is it true, monks, that the monks from the group of six do this? It's true, sir. The Buddha rebuked them. How can those foolish men who do walking meditation with their sandals on when the teacher and the senior monks do it without? Even the householders who wear white are respectful and deferential towards their teachers for teaching them the profession by which they make a living. And you have gone forth on such a well proclaimed spiritual path will shine if you are respectful and deferential towards your teachers, your preceptors, or those of an equivalent standing. This will affect people's confidence. After rebuking them, the Buddha gave a teaching and addressed the monks. You shouldn't do walking meditation with your sandals on when your teachers, your preceptors, or those of equivalent standing do it without. If you do, you commit an offense of wrong conduct. And you shouldn't wear sandals within a monastery. If you do, you commit an offense of wrong conduct. Soon afterwards, a certain monk was afflicted with a corn on his foot.
दैट्स ओके, that was the operative part. सो यहाँ पे एटलीस्ट जब मैं इसको वो कर रहा था ना, ढूंढ रहा था, तब द इशू वाज नॉट फॉर मी it wasn't so much कि sandals, that was not so much the point, बल्कि ये चीज़ की कई परिस्थितियों में यहाँ पे अगर आप देखें, सो द बुद्धाज द जो आधार है किसी चीज़ को निर्धारित करने का, वो ये है कि जो सीनियर मंक है या जो जिसको भी हम टीचर समझ रहे हैं वो इस चीज़ को कर रहे हैं या नहीं, और अगर वो कर रहे हैं तो हम उसको फॉलो करें। और मेरे हिसाब से ये जो कलाम सूत्र है जो बहुत विख्यात है, टिपिकली कलाम सूत्र के दो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं। उसका एक एस्पेक्ट तो बहुत विख्यात है जिसमें हम ये समझते हैं कि भाई सारी जो बुद्ध की टीचिंग है, भगवान बुद्ध की टीचिंग है, वो इसलिए अलग है, महत्वपूर्ण है, रेलेवेंट है, क्योंकि वो हमें इनकरेज करती है कि हम किसी भी सिद्धांत को एग्जामिन करें, और केवल अगर वो हमें अपनी व्यक्तिगत एग्जामिनेशन के बाद ठीक लगे तो उसको हम फॉलो करें। तो वो तो एक पार्ट हो गया, बिल्कुल ठीक है। लेकिन उसका एक और पार्ट है जो यूजुअली कलाम सूत्र का निग्लेक्ट कर दिया जाता है, या मोस्ट ऑफ अस आर नॉट अवेयर। वो ये भी कहते हैं कि एक क्राइटेरिया तो ये है कि आप उसको एग्जामिन करें, और अगर आपको ठीक लगे तो फॉलो करें, पर उसका दूसरा क्राइटेरिया है, इफ इट इज प्रेज्ड बाय द वाइज या एडवाइज्ड बाय द वाइज। सो यहाँ पे वो एस्पेक्ट जो है शायद मेरे हिसाब से उभारा जा रहा है कि अ, अगर टीचर या जो सीनियर है, या इन इन अ लूज सेंस जिसको आप समझते हैं, या जो निर्धारित हमने किया है कि धर्म में हमसे आगे है, वो अगर किसी चीज़ को कर रहा है या एडवाइस कर रहा है या फॉलो कर रहा है, देन वी कैन एंड शुड ऑल्सो फॉलो इट, setting aside whether it I fully grasp it or not, I fully get it or not, etc., etc. So I thought it was that aspect that this brings out very nicely, और इसलिए मैंने उसको इंक्लूड किया था, setting aside the issue of चप्पल पहननी है कि नहीं पहननी वगैरह वगैरह। So just for everybody's and I heard the discussion, so I thought maybe हमने इस aspect को पूरी तरीके से शायद कैप्चर नहीं किया।
So, Bhantaji, you are saying that basically it is out of respect for the elder bhikkhus that one should do this.
Well, maybe in this, yeah, more than respect, I think I think it is the understanding कि मेरी खुद की अभी समझ लिमिटेड है, और जिसको मैं टीचर एक्सेप्ट कर रहा हूँ, शायद वो अगर कोई चीज़ बता रहा है या कर रहा है जो कि अभी मेरी करंट समझ के अनुसार पूरी तरह से आई डोंट फुली गेट इट, देन आई कैन स्टिल डू दैट, or I should do. Yeah, you can call it respect, you can call it a sense of surrender, whatever you want.
Okay. The other question I have is the group of six the same group of six that was with the
Actually,
Buddha?
सुरेन जी, जो सारा विनय पिटक है ना, उसमें कई बार आई डोंट एग्जैक्टली रिमेम्बर, लिटरेचर में इसको कुछ कहते हैं, है ना? So many sort of narratives are used which are not literal. So कई सारी जो अनडिजायरेबल बिहेवियर्स या बदमाशियां हैं, उनको इलस्ट्रेट करने के लिए ये ग्रुप ऑफ सिक्स यूज किया जाएगा, या जो दूसरी बुक है ना, सुत्त विभंग जो है जिसमें पटिमोक्ष है, उसमें एक व्यक्तिगत मंक है जिसका नाम उदायीन रखा गया है, उसको यूज किया जाएगा। तो हमेशा कुछ गड़बड़ होगी तो उदायीन ही कर रहा होगा, एंड देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट गड़बड़ द बुद्धा विल फॉर्मुलेट अ रूल। तो यहाँ पर ये ग्रुप ऑफ सिक्स है, सो मे नॉट जो एक्सपर्ट्स स्कॉलर्स हैं वो कहते हैं कि मे नॉट टेक इट सो लिटरली कि छः थे जो हमेशा कुछ गड़बड़ करते थे, मे बी मे नॉट बी ऑल्सो, इट्स मोर लाइक like a device, like a narrator's device.
But certainly they were probably not the same group of six who were with the Buddha from the beginning.
नहीं, ग्रुप ऑफ सिक्स यहाँ पे आप देखोगे, देयर इज अ पाली फॉर इट, उसको आप देख सकते हो and basically it doesn't refer to the Kassab brothers etc. It refers to यहाँ पे वो है जो बार बार कुछ गड़बड़ करते हैं, तो उनका
हाँ,
नाम ही
वो
वो रख दिया गया है.
धम्मपदा में भी आते हैं वो कई बार.
Right, right. But I don't know if they are doing गड़बड़ or not.
नहीं, गड़बड़ी कर रहे हैं मोस्टली.
Yeah. So I think it's that device that's been used, unless Dharsab knows if there is something more to it. But जो मैंने पढ़ा है वो ये पढ़ा है कि कई बार ऐसे tools यूज किए गए हैं
Okay.
टिपिटिक में to illustrate. Yes. I mean similarly like with numbers, कहते हैं ना कि 500 भिक्षु थे, so we are often told कि यार उसको लोग literally मत लो, don't think that like you but it's like जैसे हम कहते हैं ना भाई अरे हजारों की तादाद में, doesn't literally mean that. It's a little bit like that's मेरी समझ कम से कम ये है.
Thank you.
Maybe Dharsab, do you want to make some commentary? ये जो कलाम वाला issue है. In fact, I remember many years ago you had yourself flagged this, and I thought it's useful, to illustrate it here. And maybe this story is not exactly pushing that point.
Yeah.
But maybe but the point is so significant that I didn't want to lose it, and this story for me was a good reason to flag.
Yeah. This point of Kalama Sutta, meaning that all that you can think is good should be done, is refuted by many people in the literature also. कि आप वो बात तो सोच ही गए कि praised by the wise की तो बात ही नहीं कर रहे लोग. So it's not just that you as an individual can think, this seems fine to me and I'll go ahead. That's not so. There is a benchmark. In fact, that's a very important benchmark, because otherwise your defiled mind can think that this is good. Because with a defiled mind, you can't really judge what is really good and bad, unless it is very obvious. So seeking opinion is always the approval of a wise person is always very important. And जो 500 वाली बात है, that is right. We also कहते हैं ना आजकल की रैली में there were thousands. अब thousands किसने देखे हैं कितने? Nobody counts it. So it may be equivalent of many. Was I not audible?
नहीं ठीक है जी. I think for me it was okay, but maybe I think the point is a little bit difficult to swallow, no? I think maybe that's the silence. And would you suggest कि ये जो प्रावधान है, that is what brings out the notion of surrender, जो कि शायद वैदिक उसमें ज़्यादा clear है, but हमारे यहाँ शायद उस depth से नहीं आता है. Would you say that?
See, in the Indian non-Buddhist tradition, it is accepted that what teacher says has to be followed. This is a modern issue of youngsters feeling that there is no hierarchies are bad. You remember the early 80s discourses of Ajahn Sumedho also mentioned this. As Americans, we thought, what is this hierarchy business is, and accept everything from him. And then why should I go? Why are these people running and washing the feet of the Ajahn Chah? There's that hilarious story. So that is a typical mindset which is there today, that we know everything and we know what to do and what to do with our life. And well, best of luck. What can you say? So the issue of deference is now seen as servility. That's the sadness.
Isn't it also true that sometimes we go overboard, in doing things which would normally be called as rituals,
Yeah,
Now,
I think, my dear brother, you have a consistent issue with rituals. I am sorry. You have to appreciate what is it. Thousands of times it has been said by Ajahn Sumedho, an American like him. So I'm sorry, I can't say better than him. I can't say better than him. We've discussed it enough यार, कब तक करेंगे डिस्कस को? Somebody doesn't like, don't do. That's simple. Usually in rituals, nobody enforces that you speak. For example, you do this puja or that puja. Nobody says it. I have not heard any of these ajans tell us it. मैं बोल रहा हूँ, तुम भी बोलो. नहीं बोलना तो मत बोलो यार. 5 लेने नहीं लेने मत लो. कौन जाके देख रहा है आपका मुंह कैसा खुल रहा है कि नहीं खुल रहा है? That's it. The issue is my own understanding. If I don't have understanding, then obviously ritual is meaningless. If I have understanding, I see the value of it. That's the problem. There is a limit to skepticism. Otherwise, it drives you crazy. One has to have the humility to accept there are things which I don't understand. It doesn't mean they are wrong. See, that is the fundamental problem of the so-called rational, logical people. They're not able to understand. There are things which are not illogical, but beyond logic. There is something called beyond logic, because that you don't have that experience. If you follow the path mentioned by the Buddha, you'll have that experience, surely. But it's difficult. So then you understand what is it being said. Otherwise, it becomes...
So there is also a sutta, I think it's called the Mahagopalaka Sutta, जिसमें 11 important गुण हैं जो एक अच्छे मेडिटेटर के होने चाहिए, एक अच्छे साधक के होने चाहिए. And one of them is respecting the elders in the Sangha, respecting the people who have led the Sangha in some way, and so irrespective of basically seniors.
That is what the whole hierarchy is based upon.
Right.
Just if a person is ordained one day before you, he is your senior. That's just to set up an order. But people know what does it mean to respect a senior person who is accomplished.
It's precisely this point that has been made there, that it is basically to respect the order that has been set up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there will be chaos.
Chaos, yeah, very right, very right. But in modern times, that is seen as a very big challenge to the independence of people. So there is a problem, of course, there is a problem.
Actually, मेरा idea यहाँ पे was not so much कि in terms of convention हम उसको करें, वो तो अपनी जगह पे है ना. तो ये जो one day वाला है, it's true and it has its place. My point was more sort of doctrinal, more substantial कि कई चीज़ें हैं. एक तो पहला तो ये है to accept कि भाई there is this person or these persons जो कि मुझसे धर्म में आ गए, जिनकी समझ मुझसे ज़्यादा प्रतिष्ठित है, and therefore I am willing to follow even that जो उस समय मुझे पूरी तरीके से या तो समझ नहीं आ रहा है या acceptable नहीं है वगैरह वगैरह. And so I thought that was the more critical thing here, set in addition to जो कन्वेंशन है कि हमें जीवन कैसे जीना है, तो कैसे बैठेंगे, कौन आगे बैठेगा, कौन पहले बोल मिलेगा वगैरह, वो अपनी जगह पे ठीक है.
This also makes sense.
That to me is the big barrier to cross. And in fact for me, when I crossed that barrier, बहुत ज़्यादा चीज़ें खुलने लग गई थी. This tentative acceptance that what he's saying, I'm not sure. And yet because I know कि यार इस व्यक्ति ने इस आधार पे या इन आधारों पे मुझसे आगे है या प्रगति की है, maybe that's the path which I don't fully get yet. I think that's the point.
जी. I hope my brother doesn't mind my straight answer. If it, I seek forgiveness.
I don't mind it, but but my convictions are based on certain things which I have been seeing in the life. अब
That's
76
good.
साल की उम्र हो गई है तो बहुत कुछ देखा है जिंदगी।
Yeah, yeah.
तो उसके बेसिस पे मैं इस नतीजे पे पहुंचा हूं कि इन द रिसेंट पास्ट आल्सो वी हैव सीन दैट मेयर
ये आपका बंद हो गया, बंद हो गया।
merely by following a path or wearing or following the customs you are into it and very vigorously following them to the last, it doesn't really change things in that individual. That is what I wanted to say.
नहीं वो ठीक है। हम तो ये दैट इज अ डिफरेंट थिंग ना। आपने कहा कि रिचुअल्स का कोई मीनिंग नहीं है, समथिंग व्हाट यू सेड एग्जैक्टली
नहीं नहीं,
दैट।
मैंने ये कहा कि खाली जो जो रिचुअल्स हैं उनकी क्लिंगिंग भी एक प्रॉब्लम है। दैट्स व्हाट आई वांटेड टू से।
नहीं, क्लिंगिंग तो प्रॉब्लम सबकी है ना, वो तो है ही है। वो तो
और
शीलबद्ध
ये
परामर्श।
मेरे से नहीं हुआ, ये मेरे से मिस हो गया, ओह। तो दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ अ फीलिंग व्हेन जनरेट्स इन द माइंड,
या
तो वो भी एक परेशानी का कारण बन जाती है ना फिर।
हाँ, ऑफ कोर्स। क्लिंगिंग तो आप किसी से भी करेंगे तो परेशानी होगी।
मैं रिचुअल मैं
वेरी
उसी
स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड।
सेंस में मैं कह रहा हूँ।
नॉट जस्ट रिचुअल। अगर आप टीचर से भी क्लिंग करेंगे तो भी प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी, ट्रेडिशन से क्लिंग करेंगे तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगी। सो
एग्जैक्टली
क्लिंगिंग इज अ
एग्जैक्टली,
यूनिवर्सल स्टफ। सो उसके बारे में तो कोई डाउट ही नहीं हो सकता ना।
दैट्स व्हाट देयर इज वेयर आई एम।
या बट there are many things which we don't understand. The point was, for example, if the teacher is doing something and we are not understanding immediately by ये क्यों कर रहा है, then unless it is absolutely ridiculous, then there's no harm in trying to follow it. Or if I find I have been a part of a system or a tradition where everything is getting bad, I just move out, of course. There's no problem. If I find things are getting in the direction which is not as per the teaching of the Buddha, or the fundamentals are not being followed, of course, there's no blind adherence to anything. But the problem arises when our attempt to rationalize, intellectualize everything, things like rituals, makes us I mean, it goes beyond a level of skepticism, because you don't. We think what is being done is what it appears to be. That there is no meaning behind it. See, that is the point. Because there is a meaning behind things which is hidden, which is not apparent. And that meaning becomes apparent to a person with deeper, what should I say, deeper insight into the phenomena. That's all I will say. Otherwise, I mean, I remember long back when I read Mahaparinibbana Sutta, and at the end Buddha says, you should set up these relics at 4 different places and so many stupas should be made. So I thought, ये अपने relics के लिए कह रहे हैं कि ये यहाँ करो, ऐसा करो, ऐसा करो. What the hell is this? One can take that, isn't it? That posture. He's glorifying himself कि मेरे relics बनाओ, फिर stupa बनाओ, फिर लोग आएंगे, फिर उसको प्रणाम करेंगे. One can, a simply logical, rational person will say, this person has a great ego. But we know what it means to go those places and sit and pay respects and meditate. It's life transforming. बट रैशनली तो उसको कोई सेंस नहीं बनता ना। अगर आप किसी को आजकल के एक स्कॉलर को कहो जो ट्रेडिशन का ना हो, ये पढ़ो यार, ये भगवान ने क्या लिखा है, यार सीम्स टू बी वेरी इगोटिस्टिक पर्सन। वो मरने के बाद भी अपने आप को अब आगे बढ़ाना चाहता है। isn't it? That's the limitation of vision, limitation of logic, limitation of rationality. Because you can't see what it means. What does the relics of an enlightened being mean? We can't understand. हड्डियां ही तो है यार, क्या कर लोगे उसका? ये इतना रिचुअल, इतने फालतू की बातें, हड्डियां हैं मेरी, इनको रखो, फिर उससे तुम्हें बड़ा श्रद्धा मिलेगी, क्या समझ रखा है आपने आप? Isn't it? That's the logic you can apply. But any person who has very deep insight into meditation practices, when he sits there, he knows that this is a powerhouse. That's the point I was making. It seems a big ritual. किसी की हड्डियां पड़ी और वहां जाके प्रणाम करके आओ, क्या मतलब है? Isn't it? Logically तो ऐसे ही लगेगा ना. कोई यार ये लोग पागल हो गए हैं, बोध गया, ऐसे घूमते रहते हैं, इति पीसो चैंट करते रहते हैं, क्या हो जाएगा? If you go to Bodh Gaya and you sit there, and if you have a logical mind, you'll find it's terrible. कोई फ्रेंच, कोई वियतनामीज में बोल रहा है, कोई तिब्बतन में बोल रहा है, कोई श्रीलंका सेनालीज में बोल रहा है, कोई पाली में बोल रहा है, ये हो क्या रहा है? मैं बैठूं ध्यान भी करना चाहूं तो करूंगा क्या? What are these people who gone crazy? Yeah, this is what a logical person would think about that place. But a person who has some level of accomplishment in practice would know what it means. All that noise is that just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter. Their loudspeakers blazing and 1,500 people chanting, just doesn't matter. You just sit there and see. इस विचार को मैं आपके सम्मुख पेश कर रहा था कि सब चीजें हमें समझ नहीं आ सकती, ये बात. I hope I could make something clear.
जब पहले 5 भिक्षु उनके साथ जुड़े और वो उनमें कौंडिन्य एकदम से अनंत हो गए, तब न तो बोध गया था और न ही कुछ और चीजें थी, और उनके बाद भी काफी सालों तक बहुत सारे लोग अनंत बने और प्रैक्टिस करते रहे. मेरा फोकस इस पे है कि जो उनकी शिक्षा है वो बहुत बलदायक है. पूरी श्रद्धा, पूरी आसक्ति, और उसमें जो कहा गया है उसके प्रति पूरा समर्पण, दैट इज व्हाट इज मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट. बाकी तो चीजें हैं, ठीक है, दे आर ऑल्सो इक्वली गुड. बट मैं जो समझ रहा हूँ, जो मेरा अभी तक का जो मेरा एक्सपीरियंस, बिकॉज एज यू नो हैव बीन क्वाइट रिलीजियस फ्रॉम माई अर्ली चाइल्डहुड, मैंने देखा है कि लोग मोस्टली छिलके के साथ जुड़ जाते हैं और फिर मेन छूट जाता है उनका.
चल,
ये बहुत बड़ी समस्या है.
जी जी जी, आई अंडरस्टैंड जी, थैंक यू. Sorry, I increased the discussion beyond its limit. Sorry about that. कई बार लगता है कि कुछ तो क्लियर बिल्कुल हो जाना चाहिए, but probably I'm not right. That's okay.
एक एग्जांपल मुझे याद आ रहा है सर, जो अभी हमारे एक अजान आए थे कुछ दिनों पहले, हमारे धम्मारामा में रुके थे. तो उन्होंने अपना शेयर किया था अनुभव। फिर मैंने याशिका को अलग से बोला था कि उनको थैंक यू बोलो। वो भी मतलब राजेंद्र जी के अनुसार पूरा अच्छे से बुद्ध धर्म को फॉलो करते थे। देन ही सेड कि इस कभी एक बार वो आए तो उन्हें कुछ अनुभव नहीं हुआ, दूसरी बार उनको इतने ओवरवेलमिंग अनुभव हुए कि उनकी आंखों से आंसू गिर रहे थे। सो दैट्स मेक द कंप्लीट नॉलेज कि आप पहले पूरी हिम्मत से फॉलो करो। उसके बाद कुछ ऐसे वो उन्होंने बोला कि हम यूरोपियन लोग हैं और हमें भरोसा नहीं होता था, बट ही वाज ओनली क्राइंग क्राइंग एंड क्राइंग at a certain place. So that's how I think I understand that, and that I think that link Rajendra ji point to the Shraddha also. कि वो शुरू में तो अच्छे से उन्होंने किया होगा, लेकिन he was always skeptical कि यहाँ जाके क्या होगा। बट ही said, फिर मैंने स्पेशली आशा को उस दिन बोला था कि आप वहां पर हो, उनको थैंक यू जाके बोलो इस बात के लिए, क्योंकि आई गॉट अ वेरी नाइस पॉइंट आउट ऑफ
ठीक,
दैट।
थैंक यू।
मंत्री, with your permission, should I go further in Sri Senapati Vattu?
हाँ, अगर सी में कुछ बचा हो तो अपन उसको कर सकते हैं डिस्कस। आई थॉट द सी इशू वाज डिस्कस्ड क्वाइट वेल।
नो नो बंटी जी, भी आधा हो गया था। अभी वो जो आई थिंक कि मास का जो उन्होंने डिनर में
हाँ,
ऑफर
ओके
करने वाले हैं,
ओके।
वो क्या है? शुड आई स्टार्ट बंटी जी?
या कैन।
Yeah,
अब कितने
thank
बज
you.
रहे हैं? 8 बजे। या ओके, वी हैव सम टाइम।
तो इससे पहले हमने ये जान लिया था कि सिंह ने भगवान बुद्ध की शरण ग्रहण कर ली है, और हम फिर से आगे पढ़ेंगे। ऑल्दो हमने पढ़ लिया था, लेकिन रिपीट कर देंगे। अपरपच्चयो सत्तुशासने भगवन्तं एतद्वोच अधिवासे तुमे भन्ते भगवा स्वानितनाय भत्तं सद्धि भिक्खु संघेनाति अधिवासेसि भगवा तुर्हि भावेन अथिको सिंहो सेनापति भगवतो अधिवासनं विदित्वा उत्थायासना भगवन्तं अभिवादयित्वा प्रदक्षिणं कृत्वा पक्कामि अथ कोशी हो सेनापति अन्यतरं पुरिसं आणापेसि गच्छ बड़े पवत्तमंसं जानाहीति अथ कोशी हो सेनापति तत्सारथ्या अच्चयेन पणितं खादनीयं भोजनीयं पटियादापेत्वा भगवतो कालं आरोचापेसि कालो भन्ते निथितं भत्तन्ति अथ को भगवा पुब्बन समयं निवासे त्वा पत्तचीवरमादाय येन सिंहस्य सेनापतिस्य निवेशनं तेन उपसंकमित्वा पञ्यत्ते आसने निषीदि सद्धिं भिक्खु संघेन तेन कोपनसमयेन संबहुला निघण्टा वैशाल्यं रथिकाय रथिकं सिंघाटकं बाहापगैः कन्दन्ति अज्यसिंहेन सेनापतिना थूलं पशुं वधित्वा समणस्य गौतमस्य भक्तं कथं तं समरो गौतमो जानन् उद्दिश्य कथं मांसं परिभुञ्जति पटिच्च कम्मन्ति अथ को अन्यतरो पुरुषो येन सिंहो सेनापति तेन उपसंकमित्वा सिंहस्य सेनापतिस्य उपकर्णके आरोचेसि यज्ञे भन्ते जानेयासि एते संबहुला निघण्टा वैशाल्यं रथिकाय रथिकं सिंघाटकं बाहापगैः कन्दन्ति अज्यसिंहेन सेनापतिना थूलं पशुं वधित्वा समणस्य गौतमस्य भक्तं कथं तं समणो गौतमो जानन् उद्दिश्य कथं मनसं परिभुञ्जति पटिच्च कम्मन् इति अलम् अयोधीघृतं पीते आयस्मन्ता अवर्णकामा बुद्धस्य अवर्णकामा धम्मस्य अवर्णकामा संघस्य न च पन्ते आयस्मन्ता जीदन्ति तं भगवन्तं असता तुच्छा मुषा अभूतेन अभाचिक्खन्ता न च मयं जीवितहेतुपि सच्चिञ्च पाणं जीविता बोरे पेयामाति। अथ घोषीहो सेनापति बुद्धप्रमुखं भिक्षुसङ्घं परितेन खादनीयेन भोजनीयेन सहर्था सन्तप्यपेत्वा सम्पवारयित्वा भगवन्तं भुक्ताविं ओनीतपत्रपाणिम् एकमन्तं निषीदि एकमन्तं निस्सिन्नं घोषीहं सेनापति भगवा धम्मिया कथाय सन्दर्शयित्वा समाधिपेत्वा समुत् उत्तेजयित्वा सम्पहंसित्वा उत्थायासना पक्कामि अतिको भगवा एतस्मिन् निदाने एतस्मिन् प्रकरणे धम्मिं कथं कृत्वा भिक्खु आमन्तेसि न भिक्खवे जानन् उद्दिश्य कथं मनसं परिभुञ्जितव्यं यो परिभुञ्जेय आपत्ति दुःखटस्य अनुजानामि भिक्खवेति कोटि परिशुद्धं मच्छ मनसं अधिष्ठं असुत्तं अपरिसंकितन्ति शिक्षम आपने
He
पीछे
then
कर दी
he then said to the Buddha, Sir, please accept tomorrow's meal from me together with the Sangha of monks. The Buddha consented by remaining silent. Knowing that the Buddha had consented, Siha got up from his seat, bowed down, circumambulated ambulated the Buddha with his right side towards him, and left. Siha then told the man, Go and get some meat. The following morning, Siha had various kinds of fine foods prepared. He then had the Buddha informed that the meal was ready. The Buddha robed up, took his bowl and robe, and went to General Siha's house, where he sat down on the prepared seat together with the Sangha of monks. Just then, a number of Jain ascetics were walking around Vaisali, from street to street, from intersection to intersection, waving their arms and calling out. General Siha has killed a large animal and made a meal for the ascetic Gautama. The ascetic Gautama is eating that meat, knowing that the animal was killed for his sake. A certain man went up to Siha and whispered to him what the Jains were doing. Siha said, Forget about it. For a long time, those venerables have wanted to disparage the Buddha, the teaching, and the Sangha of monks. They'll grow old and still keep on misrepresenting the Buddha with lies. Besides, I won't kill a living being even for the sake of my life. Siha then personally served various kinds of fine foods to the Sangha of monks headed by the Buddha. When the Buddha had finished his meal, Siha sat down to one side. The Buddha instructed, inspired, and gladdened him with the teaching. He then got up from his seat and left. Soon afterwards, the Buddha gave a teaching and addressed the monks. You shouldn't eat meat when you know the animal was killed for your sake. If you do, you commit an offense of wrong conduct. I allow you to eat meat and fish that's pure in three respects. You haven't seen, heard, or suspected that the animal was killed for your sake.
So again, I thought ये जो जनरल सिंह वाली कहानी है उसको जो हमने पिछली बार तो डिस्कस किया ही था। एक तो उनका जो इसमें इम्पोर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट निकल के आता है वो ये था, व्हेन द बुद्धा टेल्स द सिंह हु वाज द फॉलोअर ऑफ महावीर,
Kindly keep the mic nearer. Kindly.
कि एक बार इवन इफ यू फॉलो माय टीचिंग, लेकिन आप यू कंटिन्यू टू सपोर्ट द मोनास्टिक्स ऑफ अदर सिविलियंस, है ना। तो एक तो ये एस्पेक्ट था विच आई थिंक डिस्कस हुआ था। दूसरा इसमें एस्पेक्ट ये वाला निकल के आता है वेयर द बुद्धा फॉर्मुलेट्स दिस रूल के जो मंक्स हैं दे आर यू नो देयर इज नो ऑफेंस इफ दे रिसीव मीट जो कि इन इस क्राइटेरिया को मीट करता है। एंड जैसा कि शायद आप में से कई लोगों को पता है, दिस एक तरीके से इट ओपन्स अप अ बिग पैंडोराज बॉक्स इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्या posture रहे towards meat and so on and so forth. So I thought we could maybe take it up here and just see where if it helps us in enhancing our own understanding in terms of the teachings, and then in terms of what it means for us in terms of individual behavior. So that was really the intention here.
जी, जैसे आपने सजेस्ट किया था, I went through Ajahn Sujata's writing on this, and it does throw some very interesting perspectives. और ये क्वेश्चन तो हम सबके दिमाग में आता ही है कि भगवान और उनके भिक्षु मीट के प्रति इस प्रकार क्यों सोचते हैं। एक तो जवाब ये आता है कि भाई क्योंकि वो भिक्षा लेने जाते हैं, जो उनको सर्व होता है वो ले लेते हैं, ताकि उनको ज्यादा एफर्ट नहीं करना पड़े भिक्षुओं को खाना देने के लिए। क्या एक यही कारण है कि भगवान ने ऐसा कहा होगा कि चलो बीज खा सकते हैं as long as the animal is not killed for you, या I mean या की बात नहीं है, लेकिन ये इशू तो रहता ही है कि एक तरफ तो भगवान अहिंसा के माने जाते हैं प्रतीक, और दूसरी तरफ मीट खाने की बात आती है तो कभी कभी लोगों को बड़ा अजीब सा लगता है।
I think it will be useful to hear what you yourself how, क्योंकि आपने उनका वो आर्टिकल भी पढ़ा है, plus I'm sure there has been discussion on this, so maybe you can share आपकी अपनी क्या समझ, and we can just see where people are, you know, because there's no like right answer to this. There's no way we can second guess कि बुद्ध क्या सोच रहे थे उस समय, है ना?
No, I don't have more to add. I mean, it's basically the same dilemma that does continue. Yes, there could be a reason based on the premise that, I mean, bhikkhus are dependent on citizens, and whatever is conveniently prepared by them should be accepted gratefully by them. So that sounds like a possible reason, and perhaps a good reason also. But still, the dilemma does stay in mind कि एनिमल किलिंग तो इन्वॉल्व है ही, तो ये चीज थोड़ा सा कभी कभी खटकती तो जरूर है दिमाग में। That's all. I don't have anything more to add really. I've read the discussion. It does not really also help me build a very clear opinion.
I mean, I think before we carry on with the discussion, दो चीजें हम clear कर लें। एक तो कि this is the rule for the monks, that's one. Second, जैसे उसमें बताया गया, it's not an encouragement, it's a permission. So I think just to be clear about these two things, but we can also see how people, how others, if others have any opinion, then we can hear it. And
we should also see from this context that this was said thousands of years back when there were limitations regarding farming and regarding, though, I mean, the monks belonging to the Jain Dhamma, they would strictly follow vegetarian food and all those things. But generally speaking, at that time, even the Hindus used to eat everything and anything that would be possible, because for survival they would. But gradually, I think most of the Dhammic different aspects or different versions followed vegetarian food strictly for spiritual enhancement, and killing was definitely not actually appreciated. So I think it is, personally for me, it looks like that it is just because they were monks and they had to eat whatever was being offered. So it is limited to that much, not beyond that, I think. personally feel like that.
I absolutely agree with Rajendra ji also. And I have another angle to this as well. That's a person like Buddha who has been so accomplished will never give a wrong teaching. And that's also one of the, well, one might say it's a blind faith, but that's how I look at it as well. And those were the days, as Rajendra said, was of scarcity. And in those days of scarcity, uh, whatever is given to you, you eat it. Today, perhaps one has a choice. Somebody offers vegetarian and non-vegetarian food together, then you can choose to take vegetarian and non-vegetarian. You can avoid. But if that's how I will interpret.
Here the reference in the sutta is also that the general, when asked that you have killed it for Buddha, he says, I will never kill an animal to be given for alms. That also has to be understood because that statement really looks, because he is telling go and prepare the meat, and then he is saying that I will never do that. So there is a contradiction in these two statements.
नहीं नहीं, वो उसको ऐसे समझिए ना कि वो बुचर मार्केट में गए होके खरीद के लाए उन्हें। इट्स नॉट कि जानवर को मारो, ऑलरेडी मरा हुआ बुचर मार्केट में पड़ा हुआ है, आई विल प्रिपेयर द मीट, उनके लिए नहीं मारा।
Right.
Maybe I'll say something because I was asked this question in a conference and I had to make a presentation there. See, the teaching has to be seen in totality. What is the teaching given to lay people? Samma ajivo. What are wrong livelihoods? Selling of meat is a wrong livelihood. Rearing animals for slaughter is a wrong livelihood. That plus this. Now, why are the monks being asked to eat whatever they get? Because if you said you choose what you want to eat, then the monks will eat for their taste. And they'll say, I don't like this, I don't like that, I want this, I don't want that. And the whole teaching of the Buddha was you should eat not for taste, not for decoration, not for honor, but for maintaining the body. That is it, simple as that. So obviously Buddha had to choose. I mean, if you look at the question, he had to choose between this or that. Either you could say, okay, you have to take only vegetarian food, or you could say there is no taste, no selection. And then there is third aspect, which is again subtle and may not be easily acceptable. And I was told it by a very senior teacher. I once offered him food. He said, please, I'm ill. So if I don't accept your food, it will be a unwholesome, what did he say? He used some word, no? It will be unwholesome that I don't accept your food. So I will have to accept it. But since I am ill, in future, if you want to offer me food, please ask me first. I am ill, I cannot take this food because of some problem. And he had number of illnesses that I knew, of course. So the issue is also out of compassion, Buddha wanted that people should get merits by offering food to him and to the enlightened monks. So to deny the privilege to anybody of offering food to an enlightened monk because he eats some particular kind of food, he said, is not very compassionate action. So these are the various dimensions which we find from suttas about interaction of lay people with enlightened monks with respect to food. So on that, when you take all of that in together, then we come to realize why this decision must have been made. That's what I at least I could understand it, why this decision was made, that whatever people offer you, you don't eat, you eat unless you know something has been done, unless you know that violence has been done for your purpose. If somebody, you know for sure that for your food only some violence has been done, then you should not accept it. Or if it is human meat or something, some other things are also there. So it's obviously a dilemma to choose between eat whatever you like or select. Now, the moment you allow selection, then there is no limit to that. That's how I could understand why this decision, why this kind of teaching must have been given. Because on one hand, the injunction to the lay people is don't do so. But since lay people are not able to give that up, that profession, lay people are not able to give up that profession, and as the lay people are not give up that taste, he didn't, in his wisdom and compassion, want to deny them the opportunity to offering food to a Samma Sambuddha, which we know has a great merit. Now, of course, one can doubt that, but can't say that. That's all the various aspects of this issue which have of which I have become aware after reading the scriptures and interacting with one senior teacher.
I think Ajahn Sujato's writing also has oblique reference to this aspect of that you are suggesting. That makes sense also.
आई थिंक एक और एस्पेक्ट जो कई बार बताया जाता है वो ये है कि जो विनय है ना, एक नंबर वन टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट इट अप्लाइज टू मंक्स, दैट्स वन, बट टू ऑल्सो के कई सारी चीज़ें जो हैं वो पर्टेन करती हैं स्ट्रिक्टली जो उसका कार्मिक इम्प्लिकेशन है, मॉरल इम्प्लिकेशन है. सो हियर आई थिंक द व्हाट इज एक्सप्लेन्ड इज के इन टर्म्स ऑफ स्ट्रिक्टली योर ओन इंटेंशन there may be no ill will, and then how it's explained is कि जो हमारा behavior है उसका एक influencing factor of course ये होता है in terms of intention. It's the base, but then there could be many other determinants to one's behavior. So for example appropriateness या उस समय क्या चीज़ suitable है and so on and so forth. And that's how it's explained that something may be permissible by rule but may not be appropriate or desirable in a certain context. So that's the other way also that I have heard it explained. The third thing that I've also encountered is that in terms of the behavior of lay people, जैसे धर साहब ने बताया, there is the injunction in terms of right livelihood, and then there is of course the first injunction in terms of not killing itself in the first place. But then I believe, I don't remember which sutta it is जो हम chant भी करते हैं ना, कि ना केवल आप killing ना करें but दूसरों का अनुमोदन भी ना करें, in the sense you don't encourage others to kill. So that is also often described as the full context, जिसको अगर हम देखें then the rasta becomes actually quite clear, and there doesn't seem to be any contradiction between this specific rule for monks and how general behavior overall should be. So those are some of the aspects that I have myself come across.
फिर ये भी तो the fallout of what you have said can also be interpreted by a logical mind. I put this logical mind with reference to what the Sahib has just said. So, with this reference to the logical mind, one can also say that if you accept the food, that is any non-vegetarian food, you are encouraging the people to kill.
Yeah, बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. I think which is why it is explained that जो the rule has to be seen in its wider context. तो उसको सिर्फ अगर हम उस narrow context में देखेंगे कि is it morally pure, then it's likely that one may go wrong. That's exactly the point. So in the current context, what's the appropriate way to behave? Yeah. So that's why I think it said, जैसे वो सुजातो जी का आर्टिकल हम देखें ना, उसमें ये कहा गया है कि actually it permits you, it doesn't encourage you. That's exactly the point. So in fact, many monasteries explicitly discourage the bringing of many monasteries discourage the bringing of of meat, but now many monasteries even discourage the bringing of animal products in general. So
ये वो लिंक है जो भंते जी ने सजेस्ट किया था पिछले सेशन में। भंते जी उपस्थित नहीं थे तो उन्होंने एसपी सर को बोला था, तो आप लोग भी चाहे तो पढ़ सकते हैं। तो अभी हम परित चैंटिंग करें, और सर यू वांट टू मेक सम फर्दर कमेंट्री? सर आर यू एबल टू लिसन? इट सीम्स शायद स्पीकर ऑफ हो रखा है।
उसमें लिख दो यार तुम, निखिल, वो सुन नहीं पा रहे हैं.
Sir, are you able to listen?
Yes.
All right, all right. Actually, I was asking कि if you have, sir, anything further to say in this matter?
No, thank you.
परिक्ता करेंगे हम। खंड परिक्त, चार पैरों वालों के लिए भी मंगल कामना, सारे जानवरों के लिए, सारे मनुष्यों के लिए। विरूपक्षे हि मे तं एरापते हि मे चव्या पुत्ते हि मे तं कण्हा गौतम के हि चा अपादिके हि मे तं द्विपादिके हि मे चतुष्पदे हि मे तं बहुपदे हि मे मामं अपादिको हिंसी मामं हिंसी द्विपादिको मामं चतुष्पदो हिंसी मामं हिंसी बहुपदो सब्बे सत्ता सब्बे पाणा सब्बे भूता च केवला सब्बे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा किंची पापमागमा अपमानो बुद्धो अपमानो धम्मो अपमानो संघो पमाणवन्तानि सिरिंसपानि अहिविच्छिका सतपदी उन्न नाभि सर्वमूषिका कथा में रखा कथा में परिता पटिक्कमन्तु भूतानि सो अहं नमो भगवतो नमो सत्तनं सम्मा सम्बुद्धानन्ति। मेरी मंगल कामना विरूपकों के लिए एरापथों को मेरी मंगल कामना। मेरी मंगल कामना छब्या पुत्रों के लिए कन्हा गौतम को मेरी मंगल कामना। बिना पैर वाले प्राणियों को मंगल कामना। दो पैरों वालों को मेरी मंगल कामना। चार पैर वाले प्राणियों को मंगल कामना। अनेक पैर वालों को मेरी मंगल कामना। बिना पैर वाले प्राणी मुझे हानि ना पहुंचाए। दो पैर वाले प्राणी मुझे हानि ना पहुंचाए। चार पैर वाले प्राणी मुझे हानि ना पहुंचाए। अनेक पैर वाले प्राणी मुझे हानि ना पहुंचाए। सभी प्राणी सभी सत्व सारे उत्पन्न जीव हर एक प्रत्येक सभी की परिस्थितियां शुभ हो और वो किसी पाप में ना पड़े। बुद्ध अपरिमित है, धम्म अपरिमित है, संघ अपरिमित है, परंतु सीमित संख्या में है रेंगने वाले जंतु सर्प बिच्छू अनेक पैर वाला कनखजूरा मकड़ी छिपकली चूहा। मैंने यह रक्षा कर ली है, मैंने संरक्षण कर लिया है, सभी प्राणी चले जाए। मैं भगवान बुद्ध को नमन करता हूँ, सातों सम्यक संबुद्धों को प्रणाम करता हूँ। क्लोजिंग के लिए बंटी जी से अनुरोध करता हूँ।
अरहं सम्मा सम्बुद्धो भगवा बुद्धं भगवन्तं अभिवादयामि। स्वाक्षातो भगवता धम्मो धम्मं नमस्सामि। सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक्तसङ्घो सङ्घं नमामि।
बंटी जी को हम सभी 3 बार प्रणाम करते हैं। प्रथम प्रणाम, द्वितीय प्रणाम, तृतीय प्रणाम। थैंक यू एवरीवन। शुभ रविवार। थैंक यू।
Thank you.
नमस्कार।